This is episode 120 for the National Land Realty podcast, where we discuss all things land. Our goal here is to inform, educate, and entertain those of you who own land or are interested in the buying and selling of land throughout the United States. My name is Mac Christian, and I am your host. Now, this is 2025. This is our first episode of the new year. Our last episode, I talked about how we would be changing things up a little bit in terms of scheduling. Won't be that way here in the first month. We got a fast and furious slate of podcasts to go out here. Several of our partners in the industry that we'll be talking to about their insights for 2025. But today is our insights for 2025, what we see in land markets throughout the United States. We have assembled a panel of some of the best land agents in the country, meaning our land agents. And together we discuss insights that they are seeing in their territories. We picked it geographically in different locations throughout the United States, so you have a good picture in different areas that are going on nationwide. Now, this is a very cool episode because we haven't done this before and we don't do it very often. Hopefully do this more because we found it tremendously valuable. This holds a lot of value for you to help understand land markets that are in your geographies and what's moving, what's not moving, and what values are doing. So enjoy this episode. Sit back. Normally I say sit back and enjoy. I already said enjoy. I'll say it again. Sit back and enjoy. And thank you very much for listening.
Ask questions to the panel here and allow them to share their knowledge with everyone. And again, as you're hearing, from North Carolina to Texas to Oklahoma and back over to Missouri and Illinois, we've got a pretty good coverage across the U.S. here with us today. So again, hopefully for those that are joining us from their homes or from their offices on the webinar, you'll be able to again gain some knowledge from these guys. But Mac, I'll let you take the first question away.
Yes. So the first questions we want to ask all y'all, and I'll pick names so that we can flow through this, is what are you seeing in your current market? And, if you want to summarize like what the year's been like or the velocity of the market has been up until this point and sort of where you see the market heading in your area. And Alec, I'm going to start with you because you're just to the right of me on the screen.
Well, I think the simple way to put it is that you used to go on National Land or land.com and you'd click Callaway County, Missouri, and you'd have, 3 or 4, 5, 6 pages of listings, right? Now you may go and you may see 1 page of listings. There may be 5 or 6 total listings in the county. So what's that mean? It means that listing inventory is slow. And what I've kind of told people this year, and everybody says, "Oh, how's business?" We're extremely busy. Everything is just taking a higher level of effort to get the job done. So we're having to get a little bit more creative than normal. This is going to be a successful year for us here in Missouri and Illinois, but we've had to really take it up a notch to make it happen. So,
and what's that look like for you when you talk about kicking it up a notch or changing things around? We don't want to give away everybody's, I don't want you to go too specific and give away your tricks and your secrets or anything. But as far as when you make a general pivot in the market.
You said the word, it's specific. So getting more specific with your clients that you may work with quite a bit, get a little bit deeper with them, right? So one of the things that we've done, we send out our buyer letters when we're working for buyers trying to find off-market property. I think the biggest thing I've learned this year is to get more specific with those. Maybe tell that landowner, that buyer, a little bit about the client that you're working with. Let them know about what they have and what exactly they're looking for. And we're just getting down into the details. And I think, a couple of years ago when the market's rocking and rolling, you don't have time to get down into the details. But that's what we're doing right now. It's just going that extra mile for the clients that are in the game right now. Because, the truth is that a lot of folks just aren't in the game right now. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Alec. Clay, how about you?
Yeah, I would say from our perspective, it's a lot what Alex said. I've tailored my letters as well to be very, very specific, so they don't sound generic and look like the letters that people have been bombarded with over the past 2 or 3 years, and that's been helping a lot for us. And to Alex's point again, there's not that many buyers in the game right now due to the way things are in the nation. But the ones that are out there, you can get specific with what they're looking for. And I think the sellers appreciate the genuineness of a letter tailored that way.
Dustin, what do you? Oh, thank you, Clay. I don't want to go without showing gratitude here, man. Thank you, Dustin. How about you and the market in your area?
We've seen, especially here recently, we've seen a big upswing in activity. As if you've been in the real estate market very long, or in the industry very long, you understand that when you have an election year, you typically see some slowdown in the market, and we saw that, and we knew it was coming. As we've went through the election process now, and everybody kind of understands what we're going to be seeing for the foreseeable future. That's driving some activity. That, along with interest rates coming down, a little bit, that's helped a lot too. And I think we're going to continue to see that activity grow. And as we see, the new administration come into office, everything kind of settles down from that front, and then we see interest rates probably continue to tick down. I think we're going to see growth in the market.
Thank you, Dustin. And just to kind of provide more detail for those of you that missed the intro, Alec Wardenberg that just talked is in Missouri, Clay Baxter is in Oklahoma, Dustin Weems is in Texas, and coming up is Aaron Sutton in what's it you got? You got South Carolina, you're all over the place.
Yeah, I sell everywhere.
So yeah, give me the details in your neck of the woods.
So it's a lot like Alec and both Dustin were saying. Alec saying inventory is low, but then Dustin also talking about changes in administration. So like North Carolina, we have a very stable land market. It's just never really having a big peak. It's just always just properties just slowly moving along. Where in Virginia, it is like hotcakes. You list something, you're going to sell it in a day. It still has not slowed down off of that. So looking at the election and all that, there is a lot of excitement with this. I sold 2 properties the day after the election, and both buyers said that they were basing it, developers, they were basing their purchases on what happened because they're expecting the interest rates to go down and stuff like that. So politics aside, there's some excitement in the changes coming about.
I apologize, Aaron. I said South Carolina. I meant North Carolina.
It's hot.
Mac, you're in Idaho. We don't expect you to always get it right.
People still think I'm in Iowa. So
I think you're in California, so whatever.
We'll appreciate all those answers, guys. Yeah, we'll keep this moving. One of the things that, especially again for new agents, listening, that I think they'd want to hear from you all is maybe what are 2 to 3, key business practices that you've personally done or maybe taught your teams that you manage to do this year, and then as you look into 2025. What are some things that you're going to be focused on when it comes to building listing inventory? Right? I mean, we're all focused on getting listings, and that's a big part of our business and what we harp on here at National Land. If you can get the listings, right, the buyers will come. But what are some things that you're doing to try to increase listing inventory? Alec, I'll let you go first.
I think the biggest thing for us, and I'm lucky because we're close to St. Louis and both Missouri and Illinois, we've got some big populated areas. So diversification, right? So I've got some guys in Illinois that come from ag backgrounds that have worked at John Deere and they love it if all they could do is sell flat farm ground all day. But when you get into a tougher market like this and with the ag economy, having its issues, I think being able to sell different types of land is extremely important. So in my office, we've sold everything from, the big tillable stuff all the way down to the 15-acre rec tracts. We've sold some houses in there, some houses on land. And then, me personally, we've worked a lot in transitional land. So 5 and 10 acre development type stuff. So I think being able to wrap your head around, okay, we can't just solely focus on hunting ground, or we can't just solely focus on the developed stuff. We need a way and maybe have some folks within your team that can, this is our ag guy here and he can kind of help out with this, or this is our guy who knows a lot about entitlements and he can help out with some of our commercial stuff. But at least in our office, I feel like we're doing a good job of building this team, and everybody's kind of got their niche. And what that's allowed us to do is kind of ride this wave and have, a little bit of everything going on instead of just, fully focused on one thing. So.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, diversification is king. How about you, Clay?
So we've done that too, but since Alec covered it, I'm going to move on to something else. One thing we focus on in the McAllister office is a quality listing for everybody, regardless of the list price. We utilize our Land Tour 360s, also with the embedded ground 360s when applicable. Not every parcel has features enough for the ground 360s, but we do utilize the aerial 360 tour on all of our properties, regardless of size or price. And what that's done for us is when you're at a listing appointment and you share one of your listings with a potential seller, they know you're showing them the best one more than likely, but they go behind and check you later, and they see that everybody's getting the same quality service regardless. So that's really helped us out a lot. The other thing we focused on is getting involved, and this was kind of an unintended consequence for me, but to give an example, being retired military, I took on the DAV training as a chapter service officer. So I volunteer every Monday at the DAV as a service officer, filling out claims for veterans. And I think that the organization itself is, it doesn't matter. Basically, you could pick your organization, but what that equals is a certain amount of loyalty for the person that's there as a volunteer helping out that organization. And I've garnered, I think, 6 listings this year from doing that. And again, that wasn't my intention. I went there to provide skills that I had as a veteran to help others, but it really has paid off by just getting involved in the local community.
Well, and like you said, Clay, it's one that you're passionate about too. So it
Right.
A lot. Good deal. How about you, Dustin?
A couple of things to think about when you're in a market that had slowed down to what we'd seen in a couple of years prior to, to set yourself apart from the competition. One thing that I've done and that I've taught some of our guys here to do is to lean on some of the tools that we've got that everybody else doesn't have. Like Clay mentioned the Land Tour 360, and if you don't know what that is, you can jump on our site and check it out. But it gives the end user, it gives the buyer the ability to take a look at a piece of property from a 360 view, from a bird's eye view, and you can navigate through the property at your own pace. You can look at the neighbor's property. You can look at what's on the back corner. It takes the guessing game out of the equation, and we've got that ability to embed that interactive map with so many tools and information buttons and whatnot to really get a feel for what you're looking at. And when you have something like that, the buyer shows up to the property and they're informed already, and they know what they're coming to look at. And it takes a lot of the tire kickers out of the equation, but it informs the buyer and it lets them see, what they're dealing with. And when you can add some high quality video or photographs to that system, you really get the full view of what you're trying to market. And that's helped differentiate us from some of our competition, and it's helped grow our listing pool.
Yeah, I think that's key, right, Dustin, is just finding how you can kind of differentiate yourself from the competition, and convey that to a prospective seller, right, when you're shooting for a listing. And as Dustin and Clay touched on, our Land Tour 360, it's a proprietary technology that we created roughly almost 6 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long, but it's an interactive aerial touring technology essentially. So you can, as Dustin said, you can go to our website and see what that looks like. And if you're ever, for those of you on here that ever want to partner with some of our agents and utilize some of that technology, we're always open to doing that and working with you all. But yeah, thanks, Clay. Thanks, Dustin. How about you, Sutton?
All right. So I teach all my guys, 3 or 4 years ago, COVID, whatever, and the height of the real estate market, it was easy to sell real estate. I didn't care who you were terrible at this job, you could sell real estate. But then in the last year or so, the market has slowed down. We're running out of listings. Try and teach guys not to get discouraged, that it is an up and down type thing, and we were kind of in a down market. So get creative, diversify in the market, kind of like what Alan was talking about. If somebody wants you to list a house, don't turn it away. Commercial lot, whatever it is that can get your name out there on your land.com avenues, that just gives you more exposure. And a lot of our business comes from the mailers, but eventually you want to get to the point where it's word of mouth. I haven't dropped a letter in 18 months and I've had 84 listings this year or something. So just getting that repeat business, but then turning it into, old man taught me one time, control the listings, you control the market all the way through. And that was the greatest real estate advice that anybody ever gave me. Gain as many listings as you can. Your name is always out there. People believe that you're successful, that you know what you're doing because your name's out there. So control the listings, control the market.
Yep. So true. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, guys. All right, Mac, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah. So first question, I got a good source here texting me telling me my microphone was a little low. How am I coming across?
Good.
Yeah, you're coming across good. Yeah.
All right, I cranked it up. So I want to make sure that you don't have to turn up the volume for me and then somebody else blows your speakers out. So all right. So what I want to ask you all, since I work with the marketing here, I wanted to ask what marketing strategies you've rolled out over the last year. And we've heard a few of those talked about already, right? We talked about letters. We've talked about being specific in letters. Clay, you talked about something that I don't think gets attributed to marketing often enough, but it is getting involved in your community. The more people see your face, the more you're out there, the more known you are, and repeat. So I wondered if there's any strategies that you have rolled out this year that you've sort of leaned into, and or strategies that you have discovered as the year has gone on that you want to roll out in 2025 that you see as being really effective. And Alec, I'll start with you again.
Mine's kind of a minor one. I don't think it's earth shattering, but one thing we've been doing lately with our marketing, with you guys helping us out, is the QR code thing. So whether that's for sale signs, or we've done some advertising postcards lately on listings, or signs on the side of the road, right? We're putting QR codes on there and we're tracking those, which I think is really going to help us figure out where buyers are coming from. But I also know, like from personal experience, if I'm looking at a sign or looking at a pamphlet, like before I try to write down the number, I'm just going to scan the QR code. And then with the tools that we have on land.com with Land Tour 360, you scan that code and then, here's all the information you could want on that property. So that's not anything too terribly deep, but that is something that we've been doing on almost all of our marketing here lately that I've been a fan of. So.
Yeah, that's something that we've rolled out in the last couple of years where we catalog QR codes for agents and get that contact there and ready, and we prep it for our teams and stuff. And so we make sure to get it on the collateral, and then we're tracking behind the scenes to see how effective those are. Clay, how about you?
So on that topic there's kind of like Alec, we're going to do more Facebook, and I don't care how much Facebook you can do. You can always do more Facebook. But as far as a plan for next year, I'm really just going to rely on Mac, you and your team. And that's what I love about this company is I don't have to have the answer. I can send an email, text, whatever to any part of my national land team back there and say, hey, I need to do something different this year. And I trust you guys always that are going to give me the best answer of what I need to be doing. And that, I think to me, that's more important than anything else, because I'm not a creative type person. So not to throw that back at you, but basically that's kind of my plan, so.
Man, you're going to inflate my head before I leave here. Much appreciated. Dustin, how about yourself?
Something that I've leaned into pretty heavily is our partnership with our TV show, Buck Ventures TV on the Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel. Man, I have seen some great traction off of that. Matter of fact, prime example, I'm sitting there last night at 9 o'clock, sitting there in the recliner watching TV, and I get a text message from a guy that said, "Hey, I just saw this on the Woodsman. Tell me about this property." So I mean, it works like a champ, and I've used that. Now, every property is not cut out to be put on TV, but there's a lot of them that are, and those, if you know your market and you know where your buyer is coming from, and it's a recreational type property or something like that, that is an awesome tool to use.
Yeah, and that's a really great example, Dustin. Thank you. And you have picked up some of the properties that are worthy of television here lately, so it's a good thing they're on there. I'm glad to hear that's working out for you.
Yeah.
Aaron, Mr. Sutton, how about yourself?
So we push social media really big. If you're not on social media, you're missing the ball completely. But then also we've learned that everybody's getting inundated with letters, flyers, phone calls, whatever. Let's go to church events or Ducks Unlimited events or local like expos or whatever, and really push our presence there. When people see us on social media and then they see us at an expo, it kind of puts a name to a face. To the point that we've also started we'll do like 1,000 plates of barbecue or something at a local hardware store. We've done this 3 or 4 times, and just trying to get involved in the community. And hey, here's a free plate of barbecue, and then you put your name card on top of it or whatever. And you're shaking hands with farmers and people that really don't trust real estate agents a lot. I mean, it's just the truth. They want to sell it themselves, or I don't want to pay a commission. He seemed like a really nice guy. Yeah, I'll give him his 10% commission or 4 or whatever you get.
Something that I'm going to call you out on the spot, Aaron, that I think that you do it so much that I think that you overlook it yourself. One thing that you do that I think is so awesome is you have a whole storefront on site at your office. Tell us a little bit about that, sort of your philosophy on getting branding out there, because like it's such a huge deal, and you do it a lot, and it's very unique, and even in our team or other teams that I've seen.
Yeah, so branding is key. And I've got a lot of friends here in our office. People are always here, always hanging out, whatever. So got a storefront that any one of the guys that work with me, they can come in and get as many hats as they want to, as many hoodies, T-shirts, pins, whatever. We've got it all set up over there, and I've never charged anybody for any of it. If we have a birthday party and somebody wants a hoodie, you can have a hoodie. The only thing I ask of them is wear it. Don't put it in the back of your closet, or don't get a hat and throw it in the back of the truck on the ground or something. That's the only thing I ask of it. And so it's gone a long ways with, I'll see pictures on Facebook and I see my hat sitting there. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I've shipped them everywhere to Idaho, all the way to Florida. I've sent them everywhere. People just ask me, can I have a couple of hats? They're really good fitting hats too, by the way.
I know that wasn't to me, man. I didn't receive one of your hats.
It was, I can't remember who it was to, but it was one of our brokers, either out of there or Wyoming or somewhere.
Oh, cool. Okay. It's gonna give you a hard time. No, thank you all for talking about those things. Everybody's got a kind of a little bit of a different approach. One of the big things is just making yourself the brand. You are your brand. Get yourself out there, get your face out there, participate. No one can do that kind of thing passively. So thank you all. And Logan, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah. And Mac, I'll chime in on just exactly what you said, right? Consistency is key. Whatever you end up doing, whether it's, if you're going to embrace social media, embrace it full bore, whether it's Facebook or, that's obviously where most of our audience is, but you've got other emerging social media tools out there, right, at your disposal, but Facebook, LinkedIn, and the others. If you're going to do it right, it's just about being consistent. And to Clay's point, we've got a team that supports our agents and brokers. And I know from talking to other competitors, they've got some sort of similar structures, but having that support is key, no matter what, no matter what organization you're with, and then just staying consistent with it is vitally important to growing your business. So I appreciate that. All right. So next question. At National Land, we pride ourselves on having a team that isn't just made up of land brokers and agents. That's just not how we view everyone in the company. We're really land professionals and land advisors at the end of the day that are advocating and working with the sellers and buyers. So I guess the question to you all is, how do you view yourself, and what are some of the things you do to help your clients beyond just listing and selling? Aaron, I'll let you jump in first.
I like being last. Going above and beyond. First of all, when the clients call, answer. That's how I've gotten my biggest clients. I beat out 7 foresters. I'm not a licensed forester, but I beat out 7 foresters for a big TIMO company, big timber company, because every time that she called, I answered the phone. It didn't matter who I was talking to. If I was talking to my kids, I'd hang up and answer the phone. So you put your clients as a priority, and they respect the fact that you're answering, not having to leave a voicemail, waiting 2 days to call back or whatever. So that would be the biggest thing, is staying on top of your clients. Then also going above and beyond with, like, I sold a couple of farms for a family, and about $800,000 worth of land. So they're going to have a big capital gains tax bill as inherited property. They had 2 junk listings that I probably couldn't have sold for $30,000 or $40,000. They were over in the middle of our town, but we live in a flood area, and both properties were flooded. Were flood prone, so you couldn't actually develop them or commercialize them or whatever. But I came up with the idea of, let's have it appraised and let's donate it. Well, the appraised value came back at just over $200,000, where I couldn't have sold both of them for 40. So having that knowledge in the industry of, hey, let's think outside the box here. I'm not getting paid for helping them, donate or gift this property. But he also owns 5 more tracts of land that he's going to want to sell in the next 2 years.
Yeah, having the vendor relationships is key. What about you, Dustin?
You mentioned here that we're land professionals, and I think that's what you have to be as a professional, and not just going after a sale or a listing, but actually trying to take that next step and actually talk to the people. A lot of times they may have a tax burden that they don't even know about. They may have inherited this ground. They may have a 0 cost basis in the property, and they're fixing to get strapped with a huge capital gains, problem, and they may not even know. And just having the wherewithal to have that conversation with them can set yourself apart and be that professional, that land professional. We've got at National Land, we have a good relationship with RCX Capital, which is a group that we partnership with to do some DSTs, which is, a lot of people never have heard of a DST, don't know what it is. They don't know that it's a form of a 1031 exchange. Having those kind of conversations, having a QI, we have in-house 1031 QI department in National Land, which is huge to helping put deals together and facilitate those transactions for those landowners and help them sidestep, some of those large tax burdens that they may have. It's not about how much money can you make, it's how much money can you keep at the end of the day. And they've built this generational wealth, and if they have to give half of it away when they sell their farm, that's a huge hurdle to have to jump. And so when you can have those conversations and you have that ability to plug them in, just educate them, and give them the opportunity to see what's out there and what they could do to help their family and their needs.
Yeah, it's so true, Dustin. And you touched on Land 1031, which is a sister company of National Land Realty that supports our agents and brokers and their clients who are looking to do a 1031 exchange and are there as an option, right? In terms of being a qualified intermediary and help facilitate a 1031 exchange, or down to just even educating potential clients that are wanting to do a 1031, educating them on the benefits and what their options are. So having those individuals there, in your Rolodex that you can lean on is so key when you're working with seller clients that are entertaining listing their property and are concerned about capital gains and what they're going to be exposed to at the end of the day if they do sell it. Clay, how about you? I know, maybe one of the things we haven't really touched on is, identifying, potential off-market deals for buyers. And at National Land, obviously having an in-house GIS team helps with that, but figure that might be something I know you've experienced and worked with some of your buyer clients on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to describe how powerful a tool that is.
And Clay, just to kind of touch on it some more, obviously, being able to really pinpoint what a buyer is looking for, right? If it's land along a certain river, if it's it really anywhere in the U.S., right? We were able to work with our team and work with our GIS team, nonetheless, to be able to identify properties. And the more specific a buyer can get, it actually helps us at the end of the day, helps our GIS team identify those potential off-market tracks, right?
Absolutely. I think the last one that I did was 1,000 acres contiguous, no more than 10% trees or timber in 3 counties. And that's exactly what my buyer was needing. That's what he wanted. He wasn't going to look at anything else. And to be able to reach back to base camp and the GIS team and have that list, I think we had it in 10 days to be out, and we're working that list now, to find that property. So that's how specific it can be,
Yeah. Thanks, Clay. What about you, Alec?
I hate to downplay what we do, and I know we do it at a higher level, but anybody really can go out and meet the seller and fill out a listing agreement and call a photographer and get pictures, and anybody can upload it to the internet and then sit there and wait for a buyer. I think what is more important for us really is that we're middlemen, right? We solve problems. We have connections to figure out what that seller or what that client's issues are. And one of the things I've started doing is when I go to a listing appointment, even before I break into the marketing portfolio and all that, is I usually just say, hey, in 60 or 90 days, ideally, we're going to sit down at a title company and the title company is going to put a check on the table. And I just ask, what's your plan with that check? And what I've found is that unlocks so many different things, whether that's the 1031 conversation or what they're looking for to go buy, or the reason why they're selling, or, oh, hey, we've got this relative issue, or, we inherited this and we're just not sure where to go with it, that kind of thing. So by asking that question with, okay, let's look future forward, what are you going to do with this check, right? I've just found that the answers you get to that can usually be pretty interesting. And then you can usually unlock why you're there sitting at their kitchen table in the first place. But yeah, I just think the most important thing is to have those contacts. And it's almost kind of fun. Like you hear an issue and it's almost kind of fun to be creative and think, okay, they said no, or this isn't working, but what can we do to fix the problem? And I think that's really the key and what you can do to make yourself, better than the rest. So.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, right? It's knowing what questions to ask and not being afraid to ask those questions, and then be prepared to go and try to solve them or find an industry expert, right, that can step in, that you can lean on. And so, having those relationships beyond just within National Land, but outside of National Land is so important. Thanks, guys.
Logan, I was going to piggyback off of what Clay was talking about just a little bit. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about from a seller standpoint or representing the sellers, but when you're actually trying to represent a buyer, and you've got somebody that comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking for this, and this," and it's not on the open market, That's when our GIS department really comes in handy, and you can come in there and you can give them the criteria that you're looking for, and they can do that search like Clay was talking about, and then give us back all the properties that meet those qualifications in that search area that you're looking at. And I've put this to work. I'll give you an example. I had a guy out in West Texas that was looking for a cotton farm. And he said, I need it to have, this much under irrigation, be this close to the gym. I want, and the list goes on and on. And when you have, what makes that all jive and click is having the data. And that's what we've got. And we've got the data to all these parcels in the whole country. And so when you have that and you can plug that list of criteria into that system, you can go straight to the properties that meet the criteria that your guy's looking for. And when you can explain that to them, you're talking about getting like a buyer's representation signed. I've had some buyers on some pretty large properties and say, look, I've had everybody tell me, yeah, I can go find it. But when you can show them how you're going to go find it and how you're going to find the particular property that meets what they're looking for, and then you can go straight to those landowners and say, look, hey, we've got a guy, he's looking for exactly what you have. Do you want to sell it? And when you can plug those tools in and you can bring that buyer and that seller together, that's how you put deals together that are not out there on the open market. And that's a really good tool that we've got here at National Land, is that GIS resource to go and search out those kind of deals.
Yeah, and for a buyer, right? I mean, it's so important to be able to show them not only everything that's on the market, but everything that's off market, that where you've got sellers that would entertain selling. But not only that, right? To your point, Dustin, these are qualified tracks. You've gone ahead and qualified them up front, and you're not on a wild goose chase trying to find what they're looking for. And it really goes both ways when you think about it. If you get a large cotton farm in West Texas, you want to be able to convey to that client that you're going to be able to market that to every cotton farm owner in the United States, and especially when you have a crop that maybe is, spread out across the U.S., right, is farmed not only just in Texas, but in many states, having that Rolodex to be able to expand just to beyond the market that you focus in, and leverage our GIS team to send out a marketing package, about that specific listing, to all those cotton farm owners or just large landowners in general is really important. And again, is one of those things we talked about, right? Being able to diversify yourself when you're going into a listing meeting. How can you separate yourself from the competition? What are you doing that's a little bit unique? And having that data and having those resources can be key, for sure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Mac, I'll toss it back to you.
All right. Hot potato goes to me. All right. So, and I just wanted to anybody here that is not part of our company or that is maybe isn't familiar with the agents we're talking to. Every one of the agents or brokers that we're talking to here are, and it's hard to pick because there's, obviously we only grabbed 4. These gentlemen are some of the most successful land agents around. They're not just real estate agents for land. They run teams and they're leaders, and they have a wealth of experience. So the information that y'all are getting is immense right now. And we could have cherry picked a lot of brokers and agents across the country and gotten the same thing. We have a lot of fantastic people with us. But you gentlemen, I'm stoked to see you on here, and I hope that everybody listening realizes the information they're getting, because there's good information here. Now, question-wise, I love me some tech, and I want to know, and especially for newer agents, what are the standard go-to apps that you're using? Could be desktop, could be on your phone, but what are the most essential pieces of technology that you utilize on a day-to-day basis that you think that every agent should utilize? And I'll kick it off with Clay.
I knew that was coming. Even before you said it.
Got you.
I just had a feeling. So for anybody new, start out with the apps that you can afford and work your way up is my advice. Don't get in over your head with subscriptions until you can start getting in over your head with sales or listings. So a good place to start is always Onyx or Land Glide because they're pretty affordable getting out of the gate. But when you start seeing some success and wanting to set yourself apart, like we've just been talking about for the last 30 minutes, probably, you'll definitely want to graduate into Land ID, which is a mapping tool, create and share maps with the customers, really sets you apart from the competition in the fact that I think every successful land broker or land agent has that particular program. And then depending on which area you're in and what natural resources you got, Landgate has served me well also, and I can't say enough good about that app as well. But not too many places out there that'll give you the ability to list mineral rights, wind rights, solar rights, and provide you an immense set of data to go with that. So that would be my advice.
Thank you, Clay. How about you, Dustin?
Like he was talking about, that Land ID is a tool that's very valuable. I use it every time I go out to show a piece of property. You can download that map for that property. You can turn around and hand them the iPad, let them hold it. It's going to follow you around. As you're touring the land, you can see exactly where you're at on the map. I mean, it's an invaluable tool, and it just visualizes. It kind of brings everything to life. It can be a conversation starter. While you're in the truck or on the side by side or whatnot. Just a great tool to be used in the field when you're out showing a ranch.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. Aaron Sutton.
All right, so Land ID is huge, just like Dustin just said. But and I typically use Land ID when I'm on my desktop. But Land Glide, when I'm out in the field, that's by far the best tool that I've got. Some clients don't know what it is. They always like, well, what app is that or whatever. But I mean, it literally shows you where you're at on the property, and for the most part, the data is correct. But then they did an update about a year ago where now they're also giving you farmland size, a breakdown of the different resources on the property. So those are the two that I really hone in on. And I'm not a big tech guy, so if it's simple and it gets the job done, I'm going to use it. And those two seem to be fit the best bill.
Thank you, Aaron. And Alec Wardenberg.
Yeah, I would say if you're a new agent in the Midwest or you're around farm ground and you want to look like an old agent, we've been using Acres. And what Acres is it's information, it's data about parcels, and it's extremely user-friendly. So you can go on there and click on a section, whatever property, whatever parcel you want, you highlight that parcel, you click one button that says print report, and you can get anywhere from a 4 or 5 page report all the way up to a 12-page report that's going to have soils and topography and vegetation index and past historical imagery. And then you've got this whole packet on this whole property. So when you show up to that seller, you really look like you know what you're doing. You look like you've done a lot of research. But hey, you really just click one button, but you just show up with that information. So that is a great tool that we've been using. I know we use Surety and some things like that in the past, but I just find that Acres is extremely user friendly, and they're really doing a good job with their sales data on there as well. We've been using that a ton for ag specific ground. And then the other one is OnX. You got to remember, when you go show a buyer client a property, you've already seen that property. You've already looked at it on the map. Maybe you've showed it before. You really know where you're at. But the buyer has no clue where they're at. And even if you hand them a paper map, you're either telling them the whole time where they're at, but the power behind them having a phone or an iPad with OnX up or whatever your land app is, if they can see where they're at in relation to the property, it's going to be a lot more user-friendly, and they're going to enjoy the experience a lot more. So I would say figure out a way to get that OnX app up and show them where they're at. And just keep in mind, they really don't know unless they've got something that's telling them exactly where they're at. And you don't want them to be lost on the showing, so help them out.
That's a great idea. The using OnX on site to show them where they are. That's a new one for me, and I think that's a really useful thing. Also, the other thing too is make sure everybody, if you're doing that, if you take this idea or whatever, make sure to download your maps before you go out in the field. You don't want to get out there and hand it to somebody something. You get the blank screen with the dot on it. Download your maps just in case, because you never know. All right, Logan, you want me to field into the next one?
Yeah, yeah. And hey, Mac, well, while we're on the topic,
Yes.
right, of tech and, some of these companies that were mentioned outside of national land, we're proud, partners, and some of these are going to be sponsoring at our national land summit that's coming up in February. Some that were mentioned, Land ID, Landgate, Acres, all three of those companies are going to be sponsors at the National Land Summit in February in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where we invite all 400 plus agents and brokers within NLR to come, and it's good camaraderie and learning, and yeah, just spending time with everyone and celebrating the wins from this year, right, as we head into 2025. So excited about that. For anyone that's listening and wants to learn more about that, feel free to reach out to Lauren and myself, and we can let you know more about that. Or if you happen to be a sponsor, we're always looking for more sponsors too. But yeah, Mac, I'll let you take the next one.
All right. So event marketing, and we talked about being involved in your local community and everything. But event marketing is something that plays a role in a lot of offices. A lot of people really, really dive in for event marketing. And what I mean is trade shows, expos, outdoor shows, things like that. So my next question is, are you all participating in shows like that? And what kind of results have you seen from being at trade shows, expos, or things of that nature? And I'll kick it off with you again, Clay.
Okay.
Ah,
So the answer is absolutely. We are at 3 farm shows across Oklahoma every year. Next year, we're going to branch out into, I think they're called local meetings with the Oklahoma Cattle Raisers, Cattlemen's Association, not cattle raisers, cattlemen's associations. Those are just a must-have. We've got an expo kit. We get the yellow and green colors up, and it's just being noticed. You have a lot of positive feedback at the show with, I've been seeing you guys, and tell me more about this and that. And we always have a TV screen up with our Land Tour 360 show, and that will make people stop and ask more questions, and they can really see that they may not need you that day, but when they are contemplating selling down the road, they'll remember that, how we can showcase a property compared to anybody else out there.
awesome. Much appreciated, Clay. Dustin, how about yourself?
Yeah, the trade shows, expos, those kind of things are great. We do participate in those as well. Kind of stepping outside the box a little bit. You can sponsor like other avenues. Aaron was talking about earlier, just getting plugged into your community. If it's a baseball team that you're sponsoring, or if it's here in Texas, we do a lot of the livestock shows and whatnot for the FFA 4-H kids. We do a lot of sponsorships through those programs. It's just getting out there, getting the community, getting your brand awareness out there, and especially getting in front of the folks that are going to be your customers. Be in front of the buyer, the farmers and the ranchers, and doing that sort of thing, or plugging into the next generation and being in front of those kids and helping them, with their different organizations. That's always something I think we see a big something that pays a lot of dividends down the road for you. I think any way you can get out there and you can get yourself noticed and get your brand noticed is a positive thing.
Dustin, thank you, sir. And Aaron.
All right, so we do a lot of the Ducks Unlimited stuff, which obviously every community in every state just about has one. But we might not put a booth up at some of the DU stuff or NWTF or whatever, but we will sponsor a table. So at least it gets our name on the sign. We've got a couple of agents that are there, maybe their family or whatever. But it's also contributing to a good cause that means something to the local guys. So you're being put in front of there. But then we also do what's called a Dixie Deer Classic, which is our North Carolina State Expo. And we went a step beyond being, instead of being just a regular vendor with a little 10-foot by 10-foot, space, we're the platinum sponsor for it. And it's very expensive, but they literally put us right beside Michael Waddell. Anybody that comes by to see him, they're going to be running into us, and they're going to see us. Like literally, they're the line that walk up to get your picture with Waddell is right in front of our booth. So then they're seeing the land tour, and we've got a continuous video that plays that shows the agents and kind of a day in the life of us. But you wouldn't. I mean, we're running into 40, 50,000 people in a 3-day show. And they're all like-minded folks. I mean, most of these people are hunters and fishers and family people and whatever that want to be in the outdoors, not just a banker that could care less about a deer.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. And Alec, how about yourself?
Yeah. So expos and shows are not a big part of what I do. And that could be an improve for my business. But the one thing I have seen, and I think these guys would agree with me that are doing these is you kind of got to go big or go home. And if you can't go big, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means you need to figure out other ways to get out there. So I think if you go small and you have a little tent and you sit behind the desk and you don't have much to show, then you probably are wasting your time. You'd be better off being out in the crowd and meeting with people. So you just got to kind of weigh your options. I think if you can't really make yourself stand out, then just think about it and just think that, hey, you may be better off going to the DU dinner and just getting out and talking with folks or being a part of an organization, some other things we've talked about. So.
Awesome. Alec, thank you. I just want to jump in really quick with the most incredible thing I've ever seen at a trade show. And I have to talk about it because it's hilarious. And it was a group that I worked with. I've done a lot of trade shows in my career, and we couldn't find anything. We knew that the whole goal of a trade show is to get eyeballs on you and to get conversation. That's it, right? Like you want to get the engagement. And we couldn't find anything. And somebody picked up at some store on the way there a little wheel that you spin it and it clicks. And then we just had a bunch of beer koozies and junk like that. I mean, just like a bunch of small swag that we knew we could give a lot of away. And every time that wheel went off, it would just echo through the whole trade hall. And it turned into Black Friday in our booth. There was a line that wrapped around other booths. And all it was the sound of that thing going off and people knowing that we were handing out stuff. And I advise that stupid click. And by the end of this thing, you will hate life because that clicking thing will drive you nuts. But the engagement that happened off of that was just off the charts. I've never seen anything like it since or before. So it's something I advise clicky wheel things for everybody. So that's it. It was so random, but I just had to bring that up because it can be something that simple at a trade show to get the engagement, to get the people coming to you. You just have to think about something that will drive people to you. So that's just a side note I wanted to throw out there. And I'm off.
Mac, I'm gonna put in a marketing request for a National Land branded clicky wheel thing with different swag items on.
Thank you for that. I was pulling for that.
Missouri State Fair is in August. I'll be there with the clicky wheel.
Perfect. All right, I'm off camera. Logan, take it away from me.
That's got to be what it's called, right? Clicky wheel thing. Yeah. And the funny thing is we all knew exactly what you're talking about because I think we all grew up with grandparents that watched Wheel of Fortune or, I watched Wheel of Fortune. Or not Wheel of Fortune. Well, Wheel of Fortune, but Price is Right, more importantly, right, with the big wheel. That too. So both of those have the clicky wheel thing. But as far as expos as a company, we sponsor the RLI conference, which anyone on this call, if you're a new agent or broker, hopefully you know about RLI, the Realtors Land Institute. Their conference, which is going to be in Tucson, Arizona, coming up in March, is a great event to network with like-minded agents and brokers within our industry. So can't plug them enough. Clay, I know you're heavily involved as the chapter president, right, in Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. And I will be at that conference as well. Can't wait.
Yeah, we'll hope to see anyone else that's on this webinar today. Hope to see you guys out there in Tucson. But let's wrap this up. We got about 3 minutes left, so feel free to jump in here. But I'll go around the horn. as we look into 2025, you guys touched on this a little bit at the beginning, what you've been seeing, after the election. Aaron, you touched on there being a little bit more activity right after it, right? Those people that were on the fence just kind of waiting to see the results kind of jumped in to put things under contract right after the election to close maybe before the end of the year. But yeah, what are you all seeing not only here now, but going into 2025? And what are some of your thoughts and maybe a sneak peek into your game plan for 2025? Clay, since you're unmuted, I'll let you start.
You and Mac like picking on Clay today, huh? So that's okay. Our game plan is training within our office, getting everybody up to the highest possible level we can. Using postcard sold mail outs are going to be big this year to show that you're moving properties. And like I mentioned before, Facebook, getting involved in the community and staying visible. Do anything, even if it's wrong. That's what we're going to do.
Good deal. How about you, Dustin?
I think, like I said earlier, I think we're going to see the market continue to increase. The activity level is going to increase. I think interest rates are going to drop. I think that the real estate market is going to pick up steam moving into this year and probably for the next couple of years. So, with that being said, I think you plug yourself in like we've talked about on this call today. All the little things are going to matter. Get out there. The listings are going to matter. Get the listings. Answer the phone calls. Work every lead. As this thing ramps back up and we see more and more activity, those things are going to be important to set yourself apart from the competition.
For sure. All right, Sutton, how about you?
So, like Dustin was just saying, with the interest rates dropping and a lot of things expected to change, there's also expected changes in regulations. Here in North Carolina, we have a lot of wetlands, and they're talking about getting rid of some of the wetland restrictions, which could allow for more clearing of farmland, and that's a huge concept here. But basically, just shake as many trees as you possibly can and just see what falls out. That's the best thing to do.
Yep, get out there. All right, Alec, wrap us up.
Yeah, I think going into next year, I want to stay in the details. And if activity level picks up, then that means a higher workload. So my big goal next year is to try to lean on my team as much as possible. I've got some guys that are doing this part-time. They've got kind of a main job and then they're doing this on the side and they want to do this full-time, right? So everybody always says, hey, when you have 2 full-time jobs, that's when you'll know it's time to make the switch and do this land business full-time. So my goal next year is to give some guys 2 full-time jobs in both Missouri and Illinois. I think we can all really grow together next year, utilizing all the tools and yeah, with that higher activity, I think we can make it happen.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, good deal. Well, I appreciate it, guys. We are up on time. Mac, thanks for doing this with me. I kind of drug you into this, but I appreciate you hopping on and being a part of this and co-hosting it. And thanks to our panel. And Lauren, thanks for helping to organize this. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you guys in January. And hopefully we'll be talking with some of you soon as well. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
This concludes yet another episode of the National Land Realty Podcast. Today, talking with National Land Realty brokers throughout the United States, discussing their perspectives on the land market as we head into 2025. Stay tuned for more episodes from the National Land Realty Podcast. Like and subscribe to this podcast. And send us questions if you have them. You can leave them on the National Land Realty Facebook page. You can email us at podcast@nationallandrealty.com, or you can find my information on the National Land Realty website. Email me directly. Call me directly. You can send a carrier pigeon. It doesn't matter. We want to answer your questions. We want to engage with you. But make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.